All right, ladies and gentlemen, mark your own, please. Why start writing it down now, Max? Nothing.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. Why start writing it down now, Max?
So I can learn.
Previous 2 weeks were just warm up?
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. I'm going to make this easy on you guys. Every question is worth 1. If you have some of the work right, give yourself a half mark. Okay? Just make it easy on you this time. This is 71,500 centiliters. This is something like 0.001. There might be 3. I can't remember how many decimals it is. Who has an answer for that for me? I helped 1 million people with it. Somebody did it. It's 0.015? 0.
I got
0.145. Okay, I got to check it. All right, 413 milligrams, 0.413 grams, divided by 28.35 is... It is 0.014. It's actually 0.015 when you round off. But as always, anything around there is fine. That is 3.81.
For 2, wouldn't milligrams become moles?
No, they wouldn't. 3.81. Remember, I said you could leave it as a decimal, even in miles. But if you did change it to miles and feet, for example, you might have 3 miles, 4,276 feet. You may have something like that, but I am happy if you just did that.
It didn't specify something round to, so what if you just put...
It never specifies something to round to because I've said it 1,000 times. Unless it makes no sense, round it to 2 decimals. For this one, for example, rounding that to a second decimal would have been silly, right? Because we already had to round the 3rd decimal. Okay, use... This, of course, the way I would have done it would be to change it to 5.93 meters and then change that to yards over meters. 1 yard is 0.9144 of a meter. So it was 5.93 divided by 0.9144, which is 6.49 yards. Again, if you are unhappy leaving that as a decimal, even though I said that it was okay on this review, you might have rounded that off to 6 yards, 1 foot, 6 inches, because that's really 6.5 yards, yeah? So if you did that, I'm still just as happy.
Would you get the modulus close to 6.19?
Huh?
Would you get the modulus?
Yes, of course. I have long since given up trying to get people to round properly, because Mrs. Bag Crumble tried 10 years ago and it didn't work then. So yards to millimeters, I would go yards to meters. 2.3 yards to meters, times, so 0.9144, and then change meters to millimeters. So that is 2,103 millimeters. 35 ounces in milligrams. You can change 35 ounces to grams. Right. 35 ounces. And you want grams, so it's 28.35. So 35 times 28.35 gets you 992.25, but you want it in milligrams, so it's 992,250. Yards to feet, or inches to feet and inches, it's 385 divided by 12. It's 32 feet, 1 inch. Tons, T-O-N. This is one of those ones I told you to be really careful with in your data booklet because for whatever reason, the people that made up the SI system kept one measurement's name. In the SI system, it's ton because it's franche. In the imperial system, it's ton. So you got to do the right one. So you look on your data booklet and you see 1 ton spelt that way is 2,000 pounds. So you go back to your review. You have 3.05. You want pounds, so it's times pounds over ton. 1 ton is 2,000 pounds, so it's 3.05 times 2,000, and it is 6,100 pounds. And 109 ounces to pounds is 6 pounds and 13 ounces, right?
Yeah.
Giving you a mark so far out of 9. Now this question, a lot of people remembered that question on the quiz where I showed them a broken ruler and I said to measure the pencil, and everyone was like, oh, is the ruler broken? I don't know. It didn't matter really because what I'm caring about is the fraction, right? So you could have said that this was 4 and what's the fraction there? I said I would give you a range because the photocopying is a little bad. On mine, it goes right to there. So I call that 4 and 11/16. But I will accept anything from 10/16 to 12/16. But of course, you would change that to 5/8 and 3/4.
Hi.
Zaro, you're supposed to go see Miss Doan. Miss Doan. In the counseling office. Gray-haired lady. Sits in the back corner. There you go. All right, so I'll accept anything in that range. Yeah? If you didn't put the 4... then as long as you got the fraction right, that's 11/16 of an inch, I'm happy. This one here ends right there, which is 8 and 5/8, but I will accept anything from 8 and 9/16 up to 8 and 11/16. I will accept any one of those 3 to get the mark because the photocopying is bad. Now, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you need one of these things explained, please stop me because once again, I do not have telepathy because that would be the worst superpower ever. And I do not want it. I just read a book about somebody who got telepathy that she did not want. It was a frightening novel to read. Crosstalk. I highly recommend it. It's very good. I could not put it down. My daughter even started reading it. Now, Crosstalk. It's written by Connie Murphy or Connie Willis. I can't remember which. All right. 1 liter of paint covers 12 square meters per coat. He wants to paint 3 coats. The floor dimensions are 4 by 3 and the room is 3 meters high. Does the 4 by 3 matter? You're not going to be painting the floor, are you? Are you going to be painting the ceiling? Some of you may have painted the ceiling, in which case your answer will be slightly different. But hopefully you remembered you were painting 2 walls that are 4 by 3, and there's 2 of them, and 2 walls that are 3 by 3, and there's 2 of them, which gets you 24 and 18, which gets you 42. But you're painting it 3 times because it's 3 coats. So you're really painting it 140 times 3 is 120. 126 meters squared, yeah? Now, 1 liter of paint covers 12 square meters, so I divide that by 12, and I get 10.5, yes? So how many cans of paint do I need to buy? 11 liters of paint. Now, if you painted the ceiling, you are adding 12 times 3, you are adding 36 to that. If you painted the ceiling, it is 126 plus 36, which is 2, carry the 1. 162. You did 162 divided by 12, and you got 13, I think. 13 and a bit. Yeah, you got 13.5, so you would have had to buy 14 liters of paint if you painted the ceiling. I will not even discuss any of you painting the floor, because you don't paint floors. You tile them, or you put on linoleum, or you put on laminate, or whatever. But you don't paint them. Turn the page over. You have done this exact question before in your notes. Exactly. I think it might even be the exact same measurements. It's not the same measurements? Okay. But it is the exact same method, right? So, surface area, there's no formula for that, is there? There's a couple of things you could do. One, you could recognize what parts of the formulas you have that you're not doing. For example, the bottom one here is a rectangular prism, right? But it's missing one of its sides. So if you did the whole formula there, which was 2WH plus HL plus LW minus 8 times 20, because the very bottom rectangle there doesn't repeat, does it? Because it's on the ceiling, yeah? So that would give you all of the yellow, and then you got to do, how many green rectangles are there? 2, which is 6 by 20. So you did 2, 6 by 20, and then there was a trick to this. If these sides are the same, then that means the sides on the back are the same, yeah? So it would have made this, which is what shape? Square, so it would have just been 6 by 6, right? To cover that and that. So you had 6 by 6. Now, the more astute members of the class will probably, right now, somebody often says, Mr. Myers, and I say, kid, and they say, that shape can't possibly exist. And I say, I know, but it makes it easier for you to do math with if I draw it that way and give you those measurements. Can anybody tell me why this shape cannot exist in the real world that everybody is so happy to be wanting to learn about? Because number one question in math class, when am I ever going to do this in real life? And yet, people can very rarely tell me why something could or could not happen in real life. Why is that shape impossible in real life? No. Looks like a barn. There's barns like that. I know you're just guessing. No. No. It can't possibly be 90 degrees and have those two sides be 6 and that side be 8, can it? Because if it was a 90-degree triangle, 6, 6, 8, does that work? No, you don't need to go to your calculator. What's 6 squared? What's 6 squared? 36 and 36 is 72. Is the square root of 72 8? No, the square root of 64 is 8. So that shape couldn't exist in real life. But in 20 years of giving this question, almost nobody has recognized that it doesn't even work in real life. But that is my favorite math question to answer, why we don't do more of what happens in real life. I don't remember the answer, and I really don't want to work it out. I think it's 660. Is that right? For surface area? 660 is what I think surface area is. Now, volume is always easier. There's two ways you could do it. You could find the volume of that and the volume of that and add them together, right? Or you could recognize that this shape repeats, doesn't it? All the way to the back. So if that shape repeats, that is the base. And since it repeats in that direction, that is the height. And we know that the volume of every prism is area base times the height, right? So the area of the base we know is 8 by 4, which is 32, and 6 by 6 divided by 2, which is 18. 32 and 18 is 50. So the area of the base is 50, and the height is 20. 50 times 20 is 1,000. And that would be, of course, centimeters squared and centimeters cubed. Again, I don't care about the units. This question, again, surface area, you have a couple of options. I showed you this in your notes. If you pretend like this is a proper prism, then you could just do the surface area formula, yes? And you would subtract that green rectangle, which is 9 by 2, right? And there's two of them. So this is 18. The front one is 18. So if you did the whole surface area formula and subtracted 36, you would have the surface area. The other option is, of course, to add up all the faces. One is more work, but easier to understand because you're just adding up a bunch of rectangles. The other one is way less work, but it requires you to understand the concept of what you are doing, right? Do I care which one you use? No, I do not. I, however, would of course do the whole surface area, which is 8 by 18 plus 8 by 4 plus 8 by 4, 8 by 18. What am I missing? So that would be 4, 8 by 4, 8 by 18. Oh, and 4 by 18. 4 by 18. And I would subtract out that 36 to get whatever that is. I can't do that in my head. I wish I could. Well, I could, but it would take a while. Your surface area is 460 meters squared. And the volume, of course, it's the exact same trick as here. You could find this volume, volume 1, this volume, volume 2, and add them together. Or you could recognize that this whole shape repeats in that direction. So if you know that area of that base, which is 4 by 9, which is 36, and 2 by 9, which is 18, making that 54. You could do 54 by 8 and get 432 meters cubed. These, of course, are worth 2 marks each because it's 1 per. So if you did some of the work for surface area, you get a half mark. Some of the work volume, you get a half mark. You get 1 here instead of 2. Everybody with me? 2, 2. This one, I only wanted the surface area of a cylinder. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. 2 pi 5 squared plus 2 pi 5 15. 25 times 2 is 50 pi. 15 is plus 150 pi equals 200 pi. Or 628 blah. I don't care which one you have. Now, the bonus question. A couple of people got it right. Again, it's a bonus question because although the math is not complicated because you're just using formulas, there's a conception. There's a concept here that you guys need to be aware of. And I made you aware of it yesterday, but you kind of need to see it. So here's the situation. You have a cylinder, yes? Filled with water, agreed? The water is blue, yes? Can I find the volume of the water? I can, because I have the radius and I have the height of the water, don't I? How high up the cylinder does the water go? Halfway of 50, so it's 25, right? So the water, and it's got a radius of 8, right? So the volume of the water is pi r squared h, which is pi times 8 squared times 25, which is 1,600 pi. Everyone okay with that? That's the water, yeah? What is going to happen when my triangular prism drops in there? What's going to happen to that water? It's going to rise. Like you've all gotten into a bathtub or had 20 people get into a hot tub and it bubbles over and flows over the side, right? You've all done that to your parents or your uncles or whoever's hot tub you've been in. You get 20 of your friends to get in and it goes over the side and then you get out and it's down to the benches. You're like, oh, that was awesome. Then you turn on the jets, there's not enough water and you ruin the hot tub and you get in trouble. At least that's what happened to us. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you're smarter than that. So you know this water's going to rise, yeah? But you don't know how much the water's going to rise. But you do know this. That triangular prism has a volume, doesn't it? And this water has a volume, doesn't it? So when I add that prism to that water, isn't this volume going to get bigger? By how much? You have to figure that out. The triangular prism, read the question. A bunch of people said it was a pyramid. But read the question. It's a prism. What's the volume of every prism? Area of the base times the height. Base area of 20, height of 18. 20 times 18 is 360, yes? So 1,600 pi plus the 360 that is the prism. Everyone agree? Okay, now this is the volume of the water, isn't it? Everybody agree? Volume of the water? What shape is the water in? A cylinder, yes? So volume of the water is that number, right? But the volume of the water also equals pi r squared h, doesn't it? Because the water is a cylinder, agreed? Okay. So now I have volume of the water equals this number, and volume of the water equals that equation, doesn't it? So doesn't that mean that 1,600 pi plus 360 equals pi r squared h? If volume of the water equals that and volume of the water equals that, don't they equal each other? Okay. Don't we know r? 8. So this is 64 pi h, isn't it? So if I do algebra here, will I find h and get it by itself? How do I get rid of 64 times pi times h? Divide by 64 pi. If I divide the right side by 64 pi, what do I do with the left side? Divide by 64 pi. And when I do this math, if I've done it properly, I get h equals 26.79. So the water went up to that height. How far did it go up? It started at what? 25. It ended at what? 2679. So how far did it go up? 1.79. Now, there are lots of other ways to do this question. A bunch of people found the percentage change. That worked too. I did this because I wanted to use the circle or the cylinder formulas as much as I can to reinforce you using them. And because I wanted you to be reminded of this piece of logic, which I talked about yesterday when I talked about if A equals B and B equals C, then what do you know about A and C? They are equal. So if volume of the water equals a number and volume of the water has to equal an equation, then that number must equal the equation. Everybody with me? Now, for those of you that are concerned, that is infinitely harder than anything I would give you on a test. Why would you give it to us here then? Because as I was telling Ryan yesterday, practice harder than you play. Because then playing is easy. And I didn't even make it worth anything. Just to see what would happen. Last page, 2 more questions. Draw the net and find the surface area of a cone. Cone looks like that. If you drew the net, I don't really care if you didn't. I'll let it slide. Find the surface area if you have the radius and the slant. Surface area of a cone, pi r squared plus pi r slant. Did you have the r in the slant? So it makes it real easy. What if you didn't have the slant? What would you have to use to find it? What finds slant height if you don't have it? Starts with a P. Pythagoras. You didn't let me finish my joke, Shade. I'm going to finish it anyway. Starts with a P. Ends with an S. Has Pythagora in the middle of it. Pythagoras! Right. Good job, Shade. So, pi times my radius of 18 squared plus pi times 18 times 30. And that's a number that is bigger in my head than I can do. No, I can. 324 pi plus 18 times 30 is 36. 540 pi, which is 840. 864 pi, which is 850 times 3, 170. No, what am I doing? Yeah, 170, 255 plus a little bit more. I'm going to call that about 2,700. Yeah. If you do it with numbers. If you leave it as 864 pi, it's 864 pi. Volume and surface area of a sphere, that's only worth 1. Volume and surface area of a sphere. Volume, you just follow the formula, pi r cubed 3. 4 times pi times 28 cubed divided by 3 is a gigantic number that I cannot do that in my head. So who has an answer for me? I think it's like 19,000 and something. 19,952.91 for surface area? Oh. Or for volume? 91,000. Whatever. If you have 91,000 and something, you've done it right. Surface area is 4 pi r squared, which is 4 times pi times 28 squared, which is around 900 times 4, around 3,600 pi, but which would be around 11,000. 9,852. Cool. Making that out of 2, which makes this back page out of 3. 3. That page is out of 2, 4, 5. 3 and 5 is 8. And the first page is out of 1, 2, 3, and 9 is 12. So this review is actually out of 20 by my count. Yeah? Do I actually have to do 31? Because I did it, or 33, I mean, because I did that in my head. Are people happy enough with that? They're close enough? Okay. Remember, this is the important stuff, right? Show me your work on your test. If you have clumsy fingers or you don't know how your calculator works, I can still give you almost all the marks available to you. But remember, you can always estimate, right? If you have a brain fart on Tuesday and, oh my gosh, I can't remember how to put pi into my calculator. Something like that. Just show me your work. Aiden.
On page 45, do we just put 5 out of 5, or if we did bonus question as well, we got all the credit, would that be like?
No, you get 5 out of 5. You got your bonus. Your bonus was 10 gummy bears.
Yay! I'm gonna have to do that.
So give yourself a mark. It is out of 20, yes? 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Give yourself a mark out of 20. When do you report that mark out of 20 to me? On Tuesday on your test. What else are you reporting to me on Tuesday on your test? Quiz score out of 11. Yay! I will remind you of this Monday, and I will remind you of this again Tuesday before I hand out the test. And still, at the end of the test, people will be running up, Mr. Myers, I forgot to put my scores on the test. But that's okay.
So the challenge for our class is to not have that happen?
It will happen. Don't worry. It will happen on Unit 8 when we have done this 8 previous times. Yes, please do. Everybody have a stretch. Get a water bottle. Do what you need to do. When you come back, we are going to do the background to trig. And when I say background, it is all stuff you already know but need practice with. No, you'll know it because it's all Pythagoras. It's Pythagoras and some other stuff. Like how to discuss a triangle. Yeah, they're always cute. In grade 10, all the triangles are cute. Except sometimes they're not, but then you make them cute. You give them a makeover. Check out the font. What's the font? Star Wars, and read what it says. Who talks like that? I know, right? So funny. That's a nerd check, by the way. If you passed it, you're on my team. Holy crap, she's the captain of my team now.
I have 2 years.
Do you? Ah, excellent.
I have
The one that, yeah. Is it the one that with the remote control? Or is it just like the garbage can? Or is it just like a model? I got my son a Star Wars origami book. He's always folding up things. They don't look great because it's origami, but it's still kind of fun. Did you just say you like Jar Jar Binks? You're now off the team. You're fired. Have you read that internet theory that says Jar Jar Binks is the Sith Lord that's been in control of everything? There is an internet theory amongst the hardcore Star Wars people of the world that George Lucas originally intended Jar Jar Binks to be the #1 bad guy. But when he was so badly received by everyone, he thought, I better get rid of this guy. I think it's a rumor, but whatever.
What's your favorite trilogy?
Huh?
What's your favorite trilogy?
Well, I can't say that yet because I haven't seen the third one of the new one.
You mean the second one?
No, the third one. There's been 2. There's been Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. I haven't seen the third one, so I can't decide on a whole trilogy. No, that's the third one. The first one was 4 through 6. The second one was 1 through 3. And the third one is 7 through 9.
I thought you were like the third movie.
No, trilogy is all 3 movies. So of the trilogies that have been made and completed so far, a true Star Wars fan need not ask. Because obviously it's New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. because we don't even speak of Phantom Menace. We don't even speak of it. We accept that Attack of the Clones existed and is made for some good trivia questions. Like Samuel L. Jackson chose a purple lightsaber so he would always be able to find himself in the movie because nobody else has ever had a purple lightsaber. And the last movie comes down to one simple line. Two simple lines. It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. Shut up, you dumbass. And the other one. If you are not with me, you are against me. Now I have to go to the bathroom because I'm obviously constipated. Because that's how Hayden Christensen sounded every line he delivered. Somebody should have hired that boy an acting coach. If he wasn't from Vancouver, I would be so livid that he was Darth Vader. You want to know? He was Darth Vader. Lawyer ball. You want to know something else about those movies? The kid that played Anakin in the first one, super bullied at school. Hated it. Hated everything about it. Yes, he put it in the contract. Yeah. I hope my son gets to be that famous and he can do stuff like that. He's got 2 movie auditions this weekend. One's for a cartoon, though. It's called Rockstar Puppies. I kind of hope he doesn't get it. I don't need that on his resume. But the other one is for some action movie called Daughter of the Wolf, which might be kind of cool. I don't know. And they're about to decide if he's going to star in that TV show with Jim Carrey and various other people. We haven't found out yet. The Mask. Ace Ventura Pet Detective.
Oh, is that the guy?
Jim Carrey. Mr. Popper's Penguins. Bruce Almighty. Dumb and Dumber. Liar, Liar. Fun with Dick and Jane. I'm running out of Jim Carrey movies. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Man in the Moon. You got it now? Okay. Anyway, he's making a TV show, and my son is possibly going to play his son. He's auditioned twice now. Once by video, and once they flew him to LA to audition with the directors. So we'll see.
If he actually does still on that, won't he have to
He will have to move to LA. Which means I will have to move to LA. Darn! I'll have to surf every day that my son isn't shooting? Damn! I won't have to work? Damn! That's gonna suck! Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, buddy. The only bad part about it is I'll probably have to live in a trailer for a month. But I can handle it. Because that trailer will be 10 blocks from the beach. Yeah. All right. Math time. Everybody back? Everyone's stretched? Everyone's ready to go? Good. Let's rock this out. We did some Pythagoras already. Of course, you are Pythagoras. The way you know Pythagoras is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which is wonderful if you bother to actually learn it. Unfortunately for math teachers the world over, you don't learn it, you learn the letters. And that means if I gave you this triangle right here, but I told you this side was C, and this side was A, and this side was B, you would all do it wrong. Because you would go by the letters. Because nobody taught you exactly what is happening. They taught you A squared, B squared, C squared, and expected you to make the connection. So, I don't like teaching A squared, B squared, C squared. I've spent 20 years trying to stop people saying A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And it is a lost cause. I cannot win this battle. Pythagoras taught A squared plus B squared equals C squared has the high ground. I am losing. Even though, that was a good joke. Kelvin is smiling at least. Thank you, Kelvin. I linked it all back together. You got to stay with me in this class. It's fast. So, the hypotenuse. What side is the hypotenuse? Somebody always says the longest side. Why is that wrong? Because you don't know it's the longest side until you measure it, right? Also, what if I change the perspective? Is this a 90-degree triangle? Is this a 90-degree triangle? Is this a 90-degree triangle? There you go. That's how you know where the hypotenuse is. First thing you do, you recognize it. Then you do work. Then you find out it's the longest side. The hypotenuse is across from the right angle. Now, I am going to highlight the word across because that word is no longer going to be used in math. Across means you have to go across the triangle. Now, the word that we will use from now on, if we are going across the shape, is opposite. Please highlight it, put a star around it, put a cloud around it, do something to recognize that the word opposite means across. Okay? The hypotenuse is across from the right angle triangle. When you have done your math, when math is done, it's the longest side. Why is this important? Because even though I have stressed a squared, b squared, c squared is not the way to do Pythagoras, you are all still going to do Pythagoras, a squared, b squared, c squared. And eventually I am going to change the letters here. And you are going to find the hypotenuse. It's going to be b. And I'm going to give you this side is 7 and this side is 8. And you are going to tell me that b is shorter than 7 and 8. Ryan is laughing because I think he may have done this once or twice. And you will hand it in to me and say b equals 5. And you will do a half page of work with a squared, b squared, c. You'll do all your algebra right, but you'll tell me b is 5. What is the only concept that matters when dealing with hypotenuses? That it's the longest side. If b is 5, is it the longest side? No. So don't do that. Okay? The legs are the sides attached to the right angle. Now, we are going to highlight attached because that's not a word we're going to use anymore either. We are going to use the word adjacent. Adjacent means right beside. Okay? So, using the triangle that is formed by Aiden, Wong, and myself, I am opposite to Aiden and Wong because I am across the table from them. Wong and Aiden are adjacent to each other. Everybody with me? All right. And a squared, b squared, c squared, let's remember, is really leg 1 squared plus leg 2 squared will equal my hypotenuse squared. That's the way you should think about it. Then letters do not matter. Okay? Everybody with me? Sweet. Do Pythagoras twice on those and tell me the answers. You don't need to get out your calculator. Actually, I shouldn't have said tell me the answers. You could just write it out if you don't have your calculator handy. some of you will hand in this to me and tell me that x is 289. Which means if I walk 15 steps this way, and I walk 8 steps this way, that I am 289 steps from where I sat. Does that make any amount of sense? No, but some of you will hand this in to me because you will forget to do the last step. Am I looking for x squared? What am I looking for? X. So what do I have to do at the end of Pythagoras? Square root. X equals 17. Aight? Aight. This one. What's different? What do I have? What do I have in B that I didn't have in A? I have the hypotenuse. So adding is not right because I'm in the opposite situation. So what I must do here is hypotenuse squared minus leg squared will give me the other leg squared. So 12 squared minus 8 squared equals leg squared. 144 minus 64 equals leg squared. 80 equals leg squared. And then I take a square root, which is going to almost be 9. Right? Because 81 would be 9. So it's going to be 8.9. Everybody good? Everyone can do Pythagoras. Awesome, possums. Now, talk to your neighbor. Work with him or her and tell me what x is. If you can. I'm going to give you a hint. It may be impossible. Go. You can get up and move around and go to somebody you trust more than the person you sit beside as well. I heard another one of my favorite songs today, Kelvin. It's by Kanon. It's called Fatima. Do you know it? Kanon, as you may or may not know, grew up in, I believe, Somalia. And his neighbor was kidnapped by Somalian warlords and he believes killed. It's a girl, because girls in Africa are not treated particularly well. And he wrote a song about it. And it sounds very happy and bouncy, and you're like, yeah, this is awesome. The first time I heard it, like, this is really cool. Then I listened to the lyrics, and it's not cool. Sometimes makes me cry, depending on how bad I'm feeling about life the day, at the time I hear it. Today I made it through the whole song.
You listen to like a lot of not very well known.
I listen to all kinds of music, be it genre. I am genreless. There are some genres that I do not trust until I hear the song. For example, if someone says, have you heard the latest country artist? Billy Bob Joe John Gene and the buck-eyed no-look potato peelers? I'm going to assume they stink. Automatically.
But then there's country music like
Of course, there is country music that is very, very good. But I'm going to think they stink automatically. If someone says to me, have you heard the new Kanye, Wiz Khalifa, Drake,
Wait, what do you...
oh, I'm listing genres of music that I automatically assume are bad until I actually hear the song. Some of them I won't even change my mind. I will never listen to a Kanye song because Kanye is an idiot. And if I ever had the chance, I would find all the toughest women UFC fighters in the world, and I would put Kanye in a room with them, and I would let them show him what misogyny actually means. And since only like 5 of you know what the word misogyny means, I don't need to go much further. But I'll tell you what it means because I'm in the kind of mood that requires speaking. Misogyny is hatred of women, which is, of course, the only thing that Kanye sings about.
Really?
Yes. Absolutely. Every lyric out of that idiot's mouth is misogynistic. So, let's put him in a room with the 5 toughest women in the world and see what happens. Sadly, most of those UFC girls probably like Kanye, which is a problem. But there must be some that don't. Oh, Lil Wayne, I hate him.
I find his voice annoying.
I hate that guy. Huh? I do like Eminem. I think Lose Yourself is one of the greatest pieces of music ever written. But he also wrote a song about chopping up your girlfriend into little pieces and putting her in the trunk of your car. Which kind of bothers me. Especially now that he has a daughter. At least he recognized that that's a horrible song. And has said, man, I was an idiot when I wrote that song. At least.
Wait, 97 Bonnie and Clyde?
Huh?
97 Bonnie.
I don't know. I don't listen to the guy. But I know he's got a song about chopping up your girlfriend and putting her in the trunk. Because I read the interview where he said, I have a daughter now who has a boyfriend who told me he loves my old music.
Yeah, because he actually put Haley's voice in that song.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Can I solve the first one? Yes or no?
No.
And some people say yes, some people say no. To find x, how many sides of a triangle do I need? 2. So I would need this length, wouldn't I? How long is that red line? How long is the red line? Sade says you don't know. Do you know? How long is it, Michael? How do you know that?
Because I did 2 leg or the hypotenuse and leg.
Why did you do hypotenuse and leg? Where is there a 90 degree?
In the hypotenuse is the opposite.
That's 90 degrees? How do you know? Did you get out a protractor? What happens when you assume?
You die.
Yes. Now, as it is now, can you guys do that question? You cannot. Maybe you can. How'd you do it? Which leg? Come here.